Hey, what's up, Noah? This is a demo video for you for your Korbanth Revan light side, first Saber install of the year. So excited to go over this with you, and hopefully it came out the way you like. So this is installed with the Proffie V2. This is the Proffie that you provided me actually from KR Sabers. And then it has stock MPXLs in here. And then I used the provided speaker that came in your kit as well. And then everything else is me, right? So it's a 2-button setup. So this front bigger switch right here, that's going to be your activation. And then this smaller one back here, that's going to be your auxiliary. To get to everything, this is a fully removable chassis. So we're going to want to unscrew this right here. This is what locks everything in place. So we're going to take this off, and then you'll see the chassis sticking out right here. First, before you pull it out, you're going to notice that your activation switch has a spring in it, but your auxiliary switch did not. So when inserting the chassis or taking it out, what we first want to do is drop the switches down to the bottom. We want to do that to allow that auxiliary switch to drop down there. And that's important. So you want to remember that. If you try to shove this guy in when your switches are up and that auxiliary button is down like it is right now, you're going to rip a switch out. So you just want to, you see how it's down, and then we flip it over and it popped out. That's how we want it. And then we come over here and we just pull it right out, right? And we'll put this off to the side. So fully removable chassis. You got your speaker back here that was in your kit. So I put it in my chassis. Removable battery. Your spring side here is going to be your negative, and then your board is right here. So you will need to lift up the board if you want to get to your SD card and your micro USB, but it's not glued in. It's just a press fit. So you just take like a pair of tweezers or something real carefully over off to the one side or the other, pop it up, and then you can do anything that you want with your configs or your sound fonts, and then just press it back down. Just make sure when you're pressing it back down, it's exactly enough room for that board and the SD card sticking out. You can see the SD card right underneath that micro USB slot, and you can see how there's barely any room. So that shelf is made exactly right. So just watch out for that. Make sure you back that board up all the way before you press it down so you don't bend your SD card. And then you got your 2 switches here, and then your stock MPXLs are right here on the top of this pedestal. And this pedestal actually goes up into that little diameter change right there, and then only the pins right here are sticking up to hit the blade. So it's a perfect fit, right? One thing I've had to do with a couple of these guys when I install them is I actually take these claws off because I like to put, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it in the video. See if I can show you. You can kind of see it right there on the bottom. I put a little set screw in right there. Sometimes these kits come with them, sometimes they don't. This one in particular did not. So I took these claws off, put that little set screw in there because that is what helps align this chassis. I actually have a groove. I've got a groove right here in the chassis, right? And then it stops right there because that's where I want the chassis to stop. But that set screw rides right in that groove, so it only goes in one way, and then that's how we lock it in place. So, and then I put the claws back on. Obviously, they're put on there with some double-sided tape. It was pretty strong. I didn't have to replace the tape. It was still, you know, very, very tacky. So I went ahead and I just put the claws back on, and everything's fine. It's as firm as it was when I got it in the mail. But let's throw a battery in it, okay? So remember, spring side's your negative. Here's your battery I will be sending with your Saber. You get that? That's good. So when you're putting this chassis back in, we're going to do the same thing that we did when we took it out. Don't put it in with your switches up, because you see your auxiliary, how it's pressed down right now. So we're going to want to flip it over, let that auxiliary switch fall down, and then that puts our set screw on the top anyway. So when you're putting this chassis in, that groove for the set screw, that's always facing up, right? So when we do that, that set screw is a complete 180 degrees from the switches. So when we do that, it pushes all the way in, and then it stops right there. That's how much you want. It's going to stick out because that is what locks into the end of this pommel cap. And that's why I've got your speaker pretty far in that chassis, so that this rim right here presses up against this guy, but it doesn't touch your speaker drum. So we'll just screw this in. This screws all the way in, and then it locks in place. You can feel at the very end it gets a little tight because it's locking everything in place. Now, we can use activation. You got a smooth swing. Tap your auxiliary. Blast for deflex. Hold it down for blade lockup. And then we can hold the power button to turn the blade off. And now we're going to switch over to some stock fonts because although I like that sound font, it takes a while for the blade to ignite. And I don't want you to have to sit through that every time. So when the blade is off, we want to switch sound fonts. We just tap the aux button.
TNC. Smooth Jedi. Smooth Gray.
We can stop here, right? So if you don't want to use the activation, you have swing on. And you have twist off. And we're going to put a blade in it. So I've got a full length blade here. This takes a 1-inch diameter blade. Helps if you use the side with the PCB. And then you can see where your stocks are in there, right? And we'll just throw the blade in. We are going to use your blade retention screw because the blade fits in here really nice, but we need to lock it down just to not be lazy. So we've got our blade in. 36-inch blade. Activation. Get a nice fire blade. Flash on clash. Blade lock up, right? Twist off. And then we'll go to another one. Solid red blade. Lighten up really good. I just love the motion controls. So I mean, it's going to be a little bit of a heavy swing on when you got a full length blade in it. But the twist off, pretty easy no matter what length your blade is. We'll just cycle through a few of these. Go blue flame. Just like that. So we'll take this blade out. And then we'll go through taking the chassis out one more time. Same as we did before, but we'll just do it on camera real quick so that you can see how to do it, right? So blade comes right out. Remember when we're taking this guy out, one more time, make those switches face the bottom so gravity drops that auxiliary switch. And then we'll just come over here and unscrew this. With those switches down, this thing pulls right out, just like that. And then you don't need to tool anything for this battery. You just come in with your finger from the positive side and pop it right out. And then we'll put this back in for safekeeping. Just like that. Everything fits just like it should. So that is your Saber. I did put your config file on the SD card in case you wanted to change anything. You've got what I used. If you got any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we'll pack this up today and get it out Monday. Thanks, buddy.